again. In our last lesson, we looked at Flexbox and we were able to arrange our content horizontally, and this was the final outcome. So on your own, you can try to work with different number of columns of your choice and then try to add as much content as you wish. So for now, we are going to look at CSS tables. We created a basic HTML table, and this time I want us to style our table with CSS. So what I'll do, I'm going to take that table from my previous HTML project and paste it here so that we can style it. So to do that, just click on File, go to Open Recent. I have my HTML Smart Class project of my previous lesson. So I'll open this in a new window so that now it doesn't close my current CSS project. So here we have our file table.html. I'll select it, right click, I'll copy, and then I'll come to my CSS Smart Class project, right click and paste it there. So we can rename this as lesson 4. Lesson 4. So the title, we can leave it as is. So we have this. So what you're going to do, if I run this table, it will just have the basic HTML, but I'm going to add more records. So to save time on that, now I can close my HTML Smart Class. So just pick these TRs with the TDs, all this. I'll copy, Control C, come here, you can paste Control V, press enter, Control V, press enter, Control V, press enter, Control V, press enter, Control V. So if I come and refresh my page, you can now see that my table has got some additional content. So let's create a CSS file. So right click on your CSS folder, select new, then you choose style sheet. So this one, I can save it as a CSS table. Press enter. So we are going to attach this style sheet in our lesson 4 file, which has our table. So below title, type the word link rel, that's style sheet, href, now that will be CSS, and then CSS table.css. So in my CSS table.css, the first thing that you're going to do, I want us to style the table, comma, all the tables. I want us to style all the table rows. I want us to style all the table headers, and I want us to style all the table data. So what you're going to do here is that we are going to set borders on our table, because in our previous table, my table doesn't have borders, and I want us to have borders. So to add a border, we'll just type border, and then we'll indicate the size. Maybe you can say 2 pixel solid, and then I can use a color, like maybe I can use any color, even this dark blue, no problem, even black is fine. So if I come and refresh my table, you will now see the borders appearing, but you can see that these borders, these lines, they have spaces, they have gaps in between. So to clear these gaps, we are going to add another styling we called border collapse. So you come and select border collapse. So if I come and refresh my table, the border collapse now will remove the spacing and have a single spacing on the table. The next thing I want us to do, I want us now to set the table width. So we'll say table Open that, then you press enter. Let's set the width of the table to 100%. You can use any percentage of your choice. So if you set the width to 100% and refresh your page, now your table will fit on the entire width. Now the other thing that I want us to do, I want us to style the table header to have a background color, different font type, font size, color, and so on, and also the height of the th. So what you do, you come to our table, below the table, just type th, open a curly brace. So with the th, we can set our height. We can set it to something like 80 px. We can also set the padding. We can set the padding to 20 px. So padding, it will apply to top, bottom, left and right. Also, we can set the background color. You can use background or background dash color, that's fine. Background, I can pick maybe a different color. Maybe I can pick a color like that. If my background is dull, then my text will be bright and vice versa. So for the text color, I can use color. I can use a color like maybe that antique white or even white. We can also set the size, that is the font size. We can set the font size to something like maybe 22 px. We can also set the font family. We can give it a different font. Let's say we can use a font family like, you can use cursive, that's fine, or any other font type of your choice. So if I come and refresh my page here, you can see that this changes automatically. So also the other thing we can set is our TD, because as you can see, my records are left aligned and they are a bit smaller. So we'll come here, we can set the TD, open a curly brace. So for the TD, we can give our TD a height of like half of that, 40 px. We can also give, we can set text align, center. We can also use a font family. Maybe you can use the same or you can use a different font. And also we can change the color. The color, I can maybe use the same text color as my background for the table header. And also we can set the font size. I can type size, you will see font dash size. We can set it to something like 18 px, and that's it. So let's now refresh our page and see how it looks like. So you can see now our table is getting better and better. Now the other thing that I want us to look at, I want us to apply a hover effect. Hover, it's an effect that usually occurs when you move your mouse horizontally. So we are going to set our hover on our table row. So in this case, we'll just come and say tr hover. So for the hover, we can give it a background. So we give it a background color. Let's say we can use a color like maybe aquamarine. So if I come and refresh my page and you try to move your pointer, you can see that it's changing automatically. So that's what we call hover. So we have applied hover on our table rows. Now the other thing that I want us to look at is what we call nth child. Now when you talk of nth child is a property that creates striped tables, and nth child has got two parameters. it has odd and even. So when you talk of odd, it is going to apply the effect on odd rows, that is row 1, row 3, row 5 and so on. Even it will apply on row 2, row 4, row 6 and so on. So let's implement the nth child. So in this case we'll say tr full colon and then you type nth. You will see nth dash child. So we can set the nth child on odd, for example. Then we can give it a background. Can give it a background color. Let's use a background color like you can try to use a color like gray. Maybe I can use gray. So I can pick like a color that is slightly dark, a color that is slightly light. Maybe I can use that dark sea green. So if I come and refresh here, you can see that a striped table has been generated. So it's hovering on those rows that don't have the nth child effect. Okay, it's hovering on those rows that don't have the nth child effect. Now also in our table, we didn't cover this in HTML because of styling, is merging cells. So if you want to merge cells in tables, we use the row span and the col span attribute. So let's go to our HTML. Let's say, for example, in my page, I want us to have a heading that will appear on top of this table. So we are going to use the col span. So I'm going to add a row on top of this one. So we'll come here. So after the table, I'll just type tr, tab and enter, and then we'll type th. So you tab. So type here students performance table. So in this particular case, if I come and refresh, you will discover that you will get one row here. So to merge all these, we are going to use col span. So col span, we are going to count the number of columns. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in this particular case, we'll say th col span is equals to 5. So if I come and refresh my page here, you can see that it has merged those cells, but it has applied the same attribute on the second row. Let's say, for example, I want these to be unique. I want this to have a unique background color and so on. So what you are going to do, we are going to give this th a class, the one with col span. We can give it class or ID. So maybe you can call it class is equals to, maybe let's call it top header. So we come to our CSS table and then we'll come and say dot top header. So in this case, we can have background. Let's use a different background this time. I can use even brown, so that at least you can distinguish the difference. So you can see that changes automatically. So also for the top header, we can set the font size. Let's use a font size of like 25px, and then we can use maybe a font family. Maybe we can use sans serif, and then we can set maybe the color. We can use Azure. Can use Azure. So let's refresh our page. and you can see that that row is different from the others. So let's try to reduce the height of the second row with our table header. Let's set the height to something like 60 pixel. Come and refresh my page here so that now it can have a smaller size. So basically that is how you use the col span. Now for the row span, row span it merges cells vertically in different rows. Col span it merges cells horizontally. So let's say for example in this case, let's say for example these last three, they scored the same mark in HTML5, the last three individuals. So what you do, scroll down and locate the last record. So this is the last record, second last, and third last. So where we have this third last record, the second TD, because that represents the mark for HTML. So here we'll come and say TD row span is equals to 3. So let's say this one scored a mark like 75. And what we'll do with the second last and the last, we'll clear these TDs. We'll clear these TDs so that now they can merge those cells properly. So if I come and refresh my page here, you can see that the row span has been implemented. Otherwise, that marks the end of this particular lesson for CSS tables. In our next lesson, we are going to look at how to style forms. Otherwise, thank you very much and see you in the next lesson.